Greetings and welcome to episode 4. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to get to know yourself and the method I used and how I changed that method to adapt to certain situations, because all the work you do can be undone if you're not careful, if you're not mindful of the process. So, getting to know yourself, and this is how I did it. It was a very painful process. For me, it doesn't have to be a painful process. It was a painful process because of the way I did it. I used a very painful experience to just go ahead and, instead of running from the pain, dive into it, because it just, to be perfectly honest, as much as I loved this person, it just seemed odd that it hurt that bad, and I just couldn't understand it, and I didn't agree with being in that much pain. I didn't. And I didn't, and to this day don't agree that loving someone should hurt. So when I dove into those feelings, I thought I was just trying to heal from this blow up in my relationship. And it turned out that it was helping in numerous ways, peeling back layer after layer after layer of things I just didn't tend to. I ran from it, either with another relationship or becoming a workaholic or drugs or whatever. I just ran from it, and it took that moment to put me in a place where, wow, you couldn't run from it, and it just hurt, and I wanted to be done with it. And so I set about to be done with it. And I'm going to tell you about that process and a few of the things I still do to this day that in no way, shape, or form have anything to do with suffering or pain or anything. That was just what got that started, being me again, the me that I was intended to be when I came here to this planet, being born. I'm not saying I'm an alien or anything. I'm just saying, when I was born, I was a person. Who I was when I went through this experience was not who I was supposed to be. That person, who I was during that experience, was a fabricated person based on, mostly on the opinions of others. By the time I got done with the work in that situation, I didn't base me on everybody else anymore. And the more work you do, you'll see that you can feel it when somebody's trying to put you in their little box of who they think you are. And then you'll notice that you actually decide to stay in that little box or not. But how it started for me, like I said, there was in this relationship, and there was this huge blow up, and I decided that there's no way it hurt that bad. There's no way. And so when I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it, and I'm looking right at the pain, I'm not dancing around it, I'm looking right at it, I'm in there, and it hurt. And it wasn't just that hurt. It's like light and heat are cumulative energies. The more light you have, the brighter it is. The more heat sources you have, the hotter it is. Well, pain works similarly. The more pain sources you have, it feels like one big hurt. It doesn't feel individual. It feels like one big hurt. And so every time you get hurt emotionally, it all comes in. It's not a matter of, oh, this one pinpoint or this one pinpoint. It's the whole thing, all in one, and you get it. And I realized that, and I was like, well, what hurt that bad that it hurts this bad to go through this now? So I'm thinking about it, and you peel back layer and see I don't know if it's easier to work from your now to your past, or from your past to your now. But I went backwards. I went through every relationship, and that's not just like a personal relationship with a girlfriend or wife or fiance. I mean, every relationship. I mean, if you have a best friend, you're a guy, you're a girl, doesn't matter. If you have a best friend, they're a guy, they're a girl, doesn't matter. And you guys have a blowout, you guys stop speaking to each other, that hurts. But it doesn't register as that because they're not your significant other. So you tend to just, whatever. And you never deal with it. So those count too. Family members also count. You have a family member die. You have a family member that you have a huge blowout with and you stop talking to. We tend to put those to the side because they're not our spouse, significant other, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Well, while I was digging, I found like several layers, and each time I removed a layer, the pain I was in my now, lessened, and the pain that I had experienced for the situation that I was analyzing also lessened. So each layer I peeled off, I got the full force of that particular incident only. Instead of getting the big ball of pain, I got the pinpoints. So I could separate what was going on now from what was going on then, and back and back and back. So I realized that's when I realized that it's a snowball effect, like light and heat. The more you have, the more you have. You have one pinpoint of light or heat, you've got light, you've got heat. But if you have 1,000 pinpoints of light or heat, you've got a lot more light or a lot more heat. So you're going back. And I'm granted, I probably still to this day have not found every single pinpoint, but I found the major ones, and that's what was messing with me. There's still a few pinpoints that have happened since then that honestly I didn't really deal with properly. I'm just being honest. So looking back, it wasn't just some of the ones you overlook, some of the pains you overlook, is when you sold yourself out to be something somebody else wanted. That's part of the pain. When you tell someone, look all I've done for you, that's part of what you're saying. It's not just the money you spent, the time you spent, the caring, the giving, the running back and forth, whatever it is you're referring to. You're also talking about, I shoved myself into this little bitty box for you. I stopped being me for you. That's part of the complaint, but we never dig deep enough to see that. And so having brought that to light with everything else, it was very, very easy to start seeing it in my life, where the point you make the conscious decision that, wow, I really like this person, and I'm going to just sit here in the box they made for me. Okay. You see it, and it's a feeling. It's a weird feeling, like you know you're doing the wrong thing. Like the dollar that you know somebody left for the waitress, but nobody's looking. It almost feels that bad. I don't know how it feels for you, but that's how it feels to me. If I decide that, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stay in the box because I like this person that much. What you don't understand is if they like you that much, they'll understand if you get out of the box and say, no, this is me. Because if they really like you, they'll allow you to be yourself. If they only like you because of their perception of you, they don't really like you. They like their perception of you. Just like you like your perception of you until something happens to damage that perception of you. If you were being yourself, the perception of you couldn't be damaged at all. There'd be no question of your honesty, integrity, faithfulness, whatever. Whatever you want to question would be unquestionable as long as You're being yourself. So anyway, I'm doing this soul searching, and I got to the very, 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 very last memory. And this was way, 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 way back when I was about 1.5 years old. Actually, I was about 3 years old when this happened. And yeah, it was very painful. And I never dealt with it. Not properly. I was a kid. Kids don't know proper ways to deal with things. They just know, I don't want to feel crappy anymore. Well, so I'm through it, and I'm to the spot, and that's kind of what helps you point out every time you've ever hurt yourself. Twisted. I mean, it just twists a little bit. It only takes a little bit of a twist, because you're lying, you're being dishonest when you decide, I'm going to be who they say I am. Because I like their version. Either I like their version better, or I like them enough to just sit in that box and be who they say I am. Either one's fine, but both are not really honest. And deep down, your soul knows that you're not being honest. It also knows what's going to happen when you have this new layer and you leave this new layer there. Because the next time somebody else sees you and wants to get to know you, they're also going to have this perception, a box for you to sit in. If you fit, you sit, kind of thing. And you're going to sit in that one. So now there's another layer. And these different layers will come out around these different people, but it's still not you. It'll be such to the point where these different layers, that's how you identify with yourself, and that's who you recognize when you look in the mirror, is these different layers. And that's okay, because you may be dishonest in one of these layers or all of these layers. You may be a thief in one of these layers, a drug addict, alcoholic, whatever. In one or all of these layers, you might be something you don't like. So all you have to do when you look in the mirror is shift layers. Shift to the layer you like the best. We all do it. Nobody really wants to look at themselves until they discover that they're not really looking at themselves anyway. So I'm digging through these layers. I find myself. Well, I hadn't even found myself yet. I just found the reason why it hurts so bad. And then I start noticing that I was giving parts of myself away or selling myself short for other people, trying to be cool. And those were parts of the big huge ones were the pains that happened, the relationship terminations, or the big blowouts, or whatever you have, or what have you. Whatever you have. That was brilliant. Anyway, but in between was the little things, like the selling yourself short, taking a step back when you should have taken a step forward, not just being somebody else for somebody else, but maybe not living up to your potential, and knowing in that moment and forever after that you could have done something differently. Like somebody's being an asshole to you and you stay quiet. Every part of your being just screams out, why aren't you saying anything? You know why you're not saying anything. You're afraid. But you'll come up with every excuse why you didn't say something. Nobody told you to punch the guy. Just say something. Stick up for your 3 foot of space on this planet. That's all your soul is saying. Hey, somebody needs to say something to that guy. But you didn't. And that's one of the hurts. Well, that little hurt becomes part of who you think you are, because you didn't do it one time. One time. You think that's who you are. And it'll start a pattern. Just like jumping in other people's boxes will start a pattern. And those patterns kind of add together, because now That person has an opinion of you, and everybody that saw it has an opinion of you, and you assume you know what their opinion of you is. So now your opinion is based on all of these boxes that were presented kind of at the same time. Coward, why didn't you say something, blah, 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 blah. And wow, you just, in one situation, you got, how many people were in the room? 15, 20 people? You just earned 15 or 20 new layers. And yours being probably one of the first ones there, because you're experiencing the moment. You're not watching it, you're experiencing it. So 15 or 20 new layers. And that's on top of the layers you already got from your friends. So now you have this other layer, and you will go out of your way to not ever experience that layer. If you can avoid it, you will avoid it at all costs. So you will willingly accept anybody's box as long as they don't say, hey, what's that layer? Are you a coward? You know what I mean? Or as long as they don't say you're a coward, or as long as they don't make you feel the way you felt that day, you will willingly accept that layer because you can put it in front of yourself to block that layer that you didn't like. Well, you didn't have to accept that negative layer in the first place. You could have just said, this was one situation, I didn't say anything, there'll be other situations. But a lot of people don't do that. They assume that that's who they are, and that's how it's going to go every time that situation comes up, especially if you spend the rest of your life running from that layer that you developed on accident, because that was completely by accident. You were in a room full of people, and now, boom, a room full of people has an opinion of you because of your actions or inactions. And that's not even, the worst part about that is you don't even know if these people even have an opinion of you. But you're going to assume through your embarrassment or whatever. But that's just if everybody in the room saw what went down. If it was just like a quick in passing, just you and him know about it, that's still another layer because that guy was there and that guy has an opinion of you. He brushed by you or did whatever he did to make you angry. You didn't say anything, and he's thinking what he's thinking. He may not even say what he's thinking, but you're going to assume what he's thinking. That's still a layer, and that's still something that makes you feel uncomfortable enough to accept any pigeonhole that's presented to you thereafter, just to stay away from that one. We all do it, or have done it. So when I'm peeling away, I start to notice things. I start to notice that I can't really look at myself in the mirror and say, I like that person. Like, that's not even to say love. I couldn't even say I liked that person. And to be perfectly honest, at the point, at that realization, I didn't like myself because I knew I wasn't being me. I could tell you point blank, I know for a fact I hopped in a tiny little box for this person. And I knew it wasn't genuine. I knew I was being fake. But I cared about this person that much that they offered me a little box to be in, and I was in there. And when this happened, this blowout happened, I decided I didn't want to be in there anymore. And I didn't really decide it so much as I didn't have a choice but to get out of it if I didn't want to feel all the pains attached to every layer that I had ever accumulated. So yeah, this process only took me a week to get to the end of the pain. Now that's not to say that I got to the end of and found every single little barrier between the world and myself. This is to say that I found the major points, the painful ones. Those are the ones you're going to run from the most, the farthest, the hardest. Then comes the embarrassing ones. Then comes the personal shame ones where nobody was around but you now, you put up a perception of yourself that's going to last your entire life based on one moment. You put up an entire perception of yourself. So some of these you build yourself. some of these are unnecessary because they're assumed. All of them are unnecessary, but the ones that are the most unnecessary are the assumptions. Everybody hates me. Whoever told you that? Nobody. That's the way I feel. That every time you walk past somebody, you get a new layer because you assume that person is thinking negative. So that's oh look, 3 people, boom, 3 new layers because you assume they all hate you. Or they are all thinking negative of you. You're not getting into their box. You're going over to them and saying, here, this is the box I'm in. Here you go. That's even worse than agreeing to somebody else's perception. You're forcing your perception onto others. And then because it's easier to hide behind somebody else's perception. It's not that I'm unlikable. It's that everybody doesn't like me. Huh? Nobody ever said they didn't like you. You're just assuming. It's a perception of you that you have for whatever reason. Find out where that came from. It might be attached to something painful in your past. So go back. Take the time to look. Don't try to outrun pain. Because every time you feel a little bit of pain, all of that pain will rush in. Oh, it hurts so bad. And then you wonder why everyone thinks you're acting melodramatic. Or you wonder why that person's acting that just didn't seem like it would hurt that bad. Because they're not just experiencing this pain. They're experiencing every pain they've ever felt because of that one incident. Almost feel sorry for people once you start seeing it in yourself. And it's a daily process. It is a daily process. It's not something, well, I did all the work and I'm good. No, this is something you have to work at every day to not hand out perceptions of yourself. Present yourself for inspection and then not care pretty much. I mean, there's no other way to say it. You just can't care what they think. Not like in a rude way, but this is me. This is the me that I have come to know thus far. Take it or leave it kind of way. And then it kind of nullifies their perception of you. And then they have no way to take you but the way you present yourself. If you present yourself as open to interpretation, they're going to interpret you. That's that little fear you have when you meet people. Are you going to like me? And they say, I don't know, you're going to jump in this box? And you're going to say, yeah, I want to be liked. I don't want to feel nervous. And you're going to jump in the box. And you're going to stay in that box. And when you're done with that relationship with that person, and then it could just be a friendship. When you're done with that relationship with that person, you're not going to just throw the box away. You're going to keep it. And you're just now going to tend to it. And it's always going to be there. It's one more layer between you and the world and life. So you go in and you have to go all the way back to when you first started accepting the perceptions of others as who you are. And then you peel it away. It doesn't matter if peeling it away shows something to you that's painful. It doesn't matter if peeling it away shows something to you that makes you ashamed. You want to be you. That is, nobody's better at it. Who else are you going to be? You're going to be him? He's better at being him than you are. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. You want to be me? I'm better at it. I've been doing it for 40 years. I bet I can do it better than you. I will never try to be you because I like being me. And it took, I can say, 25 and a half, 26 years on this planet to get to where I could say that. I didn't just wake up one day, oh, I like me. That process I was talking about, yeah, it took that. By the time I was done with the process, I didn't just like myself, I loved myself. But it took at least another year to understand what that meant. That's why I say it took 26 years. Because it took another year to understand fully what that meant to appreciate my own involvement in my life. To appreciate the fact that, I'm okay. I mean, think about it. Think about it. What's the first thing you think of when you're thinking about, I want to be with this kind of person? The first thing you think of is, I want to be with someone that's just like me. Well, if you think you suck, why do you want to be with someone like you? And most people are at that point where, they're cool, but, it's okay. It's that thing. I wouldn't want to be part of a club that would have me for a member. So when you meet this person that's just like you, the person you've been wishing for, that's why you have that. Well, I wouldn't want to be part of any club that would have me for a member. Or could it be that subconsciously you've been telling yourself all your life that you suck and you're not good enough, so when you meet the you want to date, subconsciously you're like, that person sucks. But that's what you ordered. Maybe it's not that they suck, maybe you don't suck either. Maybe you're just fine. Maybe you need to discover that. Maybe if you stopped letting people add layers to your life, you'd be able to see you and see that you are worth it. Because after a while of telling your soul, you're not good enough, let them tell the story. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're saying, you're not good enough, let them tell the story. So eventually you start feeling like, wow, I'm really not good enough for myself. How could I be good enough for anybody else? I know how. They offered me this persona, this box to jump into. I'll jump in there, and then they'll like me because they created this. They have to like it. You have to understand that the people that have made that box for you don't like themselves either. But because they made a box for you, you think they're just the best thing since chocolate pudding. And woohoo! And so you've made a box for them too. You've created a layer for them. Which is okay, because you guys are like trading layers. But then later when you want to figure out who you are, you're not going to be able to. Because you made all these layers. And traded and accepted and gave away and made layers for other people. So what you're going to want to do, and it's very easy to do, it's the hardest thing you will ever do, but it will be the simplest thing you've ever accomplished. Break it all down. Tear it all down. Go back to the beginning when it was okay to be you and work your way forward. Or work from your now, because I don't know when you're watching this, so work from your now and work backwards until it was okay to be you, and that's you. Now, go back through every experience and add you to the mix everywhere, and then you'll realize that the you that you were so quick to jump on because it's so much better than you wasn't that much different from who you really are anyway. And when the times that it was really different, there was no hiding or disguising it. You felt that you were bending over backwards to be around these people. But it was cool because they were so cool and fun to be around. So just keep working at it. Keep working at it. And you're going to hit bumps and you're going to say, well, I don't want to look at that. But you got to look at that. You got to tear those layers down. You got to peel those layers until you get back to your now. It doesn't matter if you start from now and work backwards. When you work backwards, you still got to work your way back forwards again. You're not done just because you saw it. Once you see it, work on it. You got to tear it down, like tearing down an old building that no longer serves you. And if you started from back there and are working this way, same thing. You're just working in one direction to notice it. You're working in the other direction to tear it down. It's like we're going to do a tour of the city and figure out what buildings we don't need anymore and that aren't not in use any longer and only serve to bring this community down. So you do your tour of the city, and once you're done with the tour of the city, go through and tear down the buildings you marked. And never stop looking for those. And never drop your guard against people that seek to build a useless building in your city. Do you understand what that means? Don't jump into somebody's box just to be around them. Be yourself. If you don't like my city the way it is, there's other cities to visit. That simple. It's not so painful that you shouldn't do it. It can be painful, but that's no excuse not to get it done. But I said I was going to tell you how my technique evolved, and that's pretty much how it evolved. It went from tearing down the old buildings to no longer allowing buildings to be built. I don't allow people to pigeonhole me anymore. Because once you allow them to have that perception of you, that's the perception they have. And once somebody has a perception of something, it's very hard to shatter that perception and become either a different person or the real you. They will always see you as their perception of you. I'll give you a little anecdote. I'm a musician, and I was in a band with my older brother. He's a very good vocalist and lyricist. He writes some of the best lyrics I've ever heard, and that's including super famous bands. But our guitarist's name was Fro, and we're doing a show, and everybody's showing up, and finally I get there. I wasn't late, but I wasn't super early either, and I get there. And my brother comes up to me, and he's walking with this old man, and he said, "This is Fro's," or he says, "This is Kevin's dad." And I looked at my brother, I said, "Who the hell is Kevin?" And everyone fell out laughing. He said, "Fro." I said, "Oh." But you see what I mean? Once somebody has a perception of something, it's hard to break that perception. And yeah, but it is very important that we find those buildings, peel those layers. Actually, just finding the buildings is acknowledging the layers. Tearing the buildings down is getting rid of those layers, peeling them off and getting rid of them. And once you're rid of them, you'll notice that you don't ever want to put up another one again, because you have finally found you, and you have finally come to a place where you can make friends with you. Because not a lot of people can say that. "Oh, I love me." Yeah, but those are just words. Are you friends with you? I'm one of my best friends. I like me. I honestly love me. I love being around me. I have no problem sitting alone. Not at all. And you'll be amazed. You will be amazed at the difference in your life just having a good relationship with you. Once you can say to yourself, "I love you," and mean it. Once you can say to yourself or to anybody else, "One of my best friends is me," and you're not speaking narcissistically, you're not so full of yourself that nobody wants to be around you. You're just matter of fact, "I'm one of my best friends. I love me." It's okay. I guarantee you not one of you is as bad as you think you are. And I mean that. Not one of you. Alright. It's getting past the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to close it down for the day. If you like the video, please like it or subscribe. And we'll see you in episode 5. Alright. Thanks. Bye.